AJ Berry is running for House District 5, which is Waterloo Valley and Lincoln and Woodstock. Candidate.
My fellow Democrats, I hope to speak to you today, not in the manner of a political candidate, but as a concerned citizen discouraged with the direction of our country. You've probably noticed that I'm a somewhat unconventional candidate. I'm young, practically unknown, and somewhat quiet by nature. So the first thing most people ask when they find out I'm running is, that's great, but why? Well, I hope to leave an answer with you tonight, and with it, perhaps a reason to vote for me. I seek this office because I'm afraid. I'm afraid we are doing too little too late to combat the effects of climate change. That someday my children will not see the endless forests of our state, ski our granite hills, and that the industry supported by both will fade away. I'm afraid that too many people suffering from chronic pain can be forced to choose between living a life of suffering or a life of reliance on pills which may lead them down the path of dependence and drug abuse. I'm afraid because too many people my age are forced to leave the state to get an affordable quality college education, and that many of these people, smart, capable, entrepreneurial people, will never return. I'm afraid of the divisions in our country and the partisan politics which exacerbate them. Both sides, entrenched in their positions, afraid that if they charge out from their fortifications, they will face fire not only from their perceived enemies, but from their own side as well. Most of all, I'm afraid of those who try to convince us that our nation is not great. Those who spread hatred amongst our communities for personal gain and political propaganda. Do not let anyone tell you that our country is not great, for we are the pinnacle of human achievement, entrepreneurship, and empathy. When someone tells you that this country is not great, they are telling you that to them, all that our forebears worked and sacrificed for is not great. We live in a time of unparalleled abundance. We have conquered many of the world's deadliest diseases. We have computers that fit in the palms of our hands, and our feet have tread on celestial bodies other than our own. Do not let anyone ever tell you that our nation is not great. But it is far from perfect. There are still those who struggle to feed their families. There are those who cannot afford to tend to their illnesses, and there are still those who have not been able to earn or save enough to retire with dignity. We are a nation founded upon the very fact that whatever we do, we can do better, and we will, but we can only do so through unity. So I implore you, reach out to your friends, neighbors, and coworkers. Seek common ground, because I know that as a state representative, I could not solve all the problems we face. But only together can we surmount these challenges. I also seek this office because I'm proud to be a citizen of this nation, this state, and this district. And it would be my tremendous honor to represent you in the House. I look out into this room and I say a beautiful tomorrow, regardless of whether I'm elected or not, because I see smart, capable, entrepreneurial people working hard to make a real difference in their communities. And I hope to get to know them better and to hear their concerns. So let us stand on November 8th, united as one, and proclaim that day for a nation to hear that we will work for that tomorrow and that we will not be denied in our pursuit of further prosperity. Thank you very much, and good night.
Judy Wallet Frothingham, excuse me. She's had to change all her signage. But congratulations on getting married. And Judy is from House District 9, the same as Josh's.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much, Plymouth Area Dems, for your support and for this opportunity. I am not naturally comfortable publicly speaking. I tend to be rather quiet. So I asked my now husband, Hank, recently for some advice. He said, Judy, Don't try to be big. Don't be charming. Don't be intelligent. Be yourself. I am running for the New Hampshire legislature to represent the towns of Ashland, Alexandria, Bristol, Bridgewater, and Grafton. And it's Grafton where I come from. One of the reasons I'm a candidate is because I think our district can be better represented than our incumbents have demonstrated. Excuse me. Together, they have voted against Medicaid expansion, against raising the New Hampshire minimum wage to only $9.50 by 2019, and against paid sick leave for 6 months employment, just to name 3 examples of what they have against. One of my opponents is a Free Stater posing as a Republican, about whom the union leader wrote this past June, whose aim is to diminish, if not fully eliminate, the role of government in the lives of most Americans. I believe in public service and in running for cost-effective and efficient government to ensure public safety and necessary services for New Hampshire citizens, maintaining and improving the quality of our environment, and securing the futures of our children and families through access to affordable health care, quality education, good jobs, and a robust economy. I consider myself fiscally conservative like you. I do not want to see our property taxes increasing, and as I have been going around and meeting with select boards in my district, also that is a prime concern of theirs as well. But if we want a healthy New Hampshire, we can't keep cutting investments in healthcare, education, infrastructure, and other necessary services for New Hampshire citizens. What is the answer? If elected, I want to know what my constituents think is the right way forward, in addition to my research about other states' solutions to similar problems. By bringing common sense to Concord with an open mind, I want to be problem solving and this over partisanship, to provide practical solutions to other real problems facing our great state. One is that income for the typical household and the wage for the typical worker have yet to recover from the downturn. Those households and workers and the financial anxiety they face will be the focus of my effort to improve the New Hampshire economy. Another real problem is the heroin opiate crisis, and for that I support a comprehensive approach that backs law enforcement and strengthens prevention, treatment, and recovery efforts. During my career, I developed and marketed small businesses. As a board member at Headrest, where Mike Cryans, during my time there, was the executive director. Together, we help people access substance abuse treatment. Also, I would add that I am the only female candidate in our district and the only candidate who has raised a family, and I will fight hard in Concord to ensure that we and our families have a secure and healthy place we can afford to call home. I want to add that I am honored to have been endorsed by the AFL-CIO, the American Federation of Teachers, and the National Education Association, among others. And I would appreciate one of your 2 votes for state representative. Thank you.
I hope we can send Josh and Judy in there. That'd be great. We need to change that area. I'd like to call up now Sue Ford.
Thank you, Joyce.
Oh, House District 3.
Yeah, House District 3, and I think that there are only 4 people in this room that can vote for me. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Charlie. And since I'm no longer in 3rd grade, I'm voting for myself. So I'm going to be real short, and I'm going to be a little comprehensive and go a little bit over the whole thing. I will tell all of you candidates the best part of being in the legislature is you will find when you are on a committee, committees are for the most part nonpartisan. You work together. It's a wonderful opportunity, and if you're, depending on the committee you're on, you are going to work together and you're going to recognize that that's incredibly important. I have several things that I'm particularly interested in happening in the next session. One, I run for the environment. I protect LGIP. That's the statewide organization that is able to buy land and support the land that we have. And I'm for full burial of Northern Pass. I know that's a surprise to all of you. I believe in public education. I'm a strong supporter of public education. And I'm also, thank you all of you people that talked about the opiate crisis. Please get elected. Please take away the sunset clause for Medicaid expansion. We will not have companies moving into this state. We will not have insurance companies providing support until we take away the sunset clause. We need to get elected. That needs to happen so that we can all step back, start training people to be drug and alcohol prevention people, start working on people with people across the board. And that's the first thing that needs to happen. Now, what happens if there's a Republican House that's elected? There are 4 candidates for Speaker of the House. One of them is our current Speaker, Sean Jasper. Sean was essentially elected by the Democrats and some of the moderate Republicans. The Bill O'Brien group fought him all along. He has already gotten a letter from 42 of those people saying that he can't be a rhino anymore. Sean broke the tie for Medicaid expansion. That's why we have it. It was a tie vote. But he broke that tie. And they don't like him. The other person that's running is the wife of one of our very, very conservative senators, who really doesn't do anything unless he says it's okay. The third person that's running is a Free Stater. Her husband was in the House. He actually said in a Finance Committee meeting that the reason we have an opiate crisis is because we have Medicaid expansion. I could not make that up. He said that because, after all those 20-year-olds know now that they can get treatment. I'll bet you didn't know that's why they were taking those opiates. And he's not running because he's planning to be his wife's chief of staff. The other person I'll mention by name, that happens to be Al Baldessaro. You remember, he hasn't decided yet whether he's going to run or not. I think he's waiting to see if Trump wins so he can be veterans. He can go to Washington. I'd like Trump to take him to Washington. I don't care what he does with it. Just take him away. But he's debating about whether he's going to run. If the Democrats take the House, it will be Steve Shurtleff. We like Steve. He's wonderful. And that's what needs to happen. So we really need to take the House back. It's really important. Thank you for all of the candidates that are sitting around here today. The next thing I'd like to say is publicly, thank you, Charlie Chandler. Thank you. We really need you in the Senate. There are 24 senators. If we're going to get Medicaid expansion, we need to get it through the Senate also. We need to have a Democratic governor. That's really, really important. And besides, Charlie doesn't know I have all these things that we're going to work on. We'll talk later, Charlie. Yes. But one of the things that I am most concerned about is occasionally you have recounts. And you go down to Concord because I remember Jim had the vote where it was 6 votes or 3 votes or something? Yes, and that was in Orford. And that was yes. And that he ran against Vicky at that point. They had a thing. When you go down for a recount, one of the things that you notice when you are observing is Democrats don't vote the whole ticket. It makes me crazy. Bill, raise your hand. We really, really, really need Bill Bolton as a commissioner. I don't remember, one of the things that I'm going to be doing is working on some legislation with Linda Lauer. Mike, you were there 18 years, Martha had 10 years. How long was Ray there? 23. Grafton County, when you get down there, representatives, you're going to find that you are in the best county in the state. Grafton County runs well. It's because we've had stable commissioners that cared about the county and worked. We're going to take, but the problem is all 3 commissioners are elected in the same year every 2 years. Linda Lauer would be the senior commissioner for 3 years. So we're going to look at doing some staggering of those things. We never needed to do that when we had somebody that was there for 18 years, somebody that was there for 20, 30 years, and somebody there for 10 years. It was stable. Most of the other counties have moved to a staggered election. We're going to work on doing that so that we can develop that stability, because that is incredibly important. But I will tell you that voting up and down the ticket is incredibly, incredibly important. Now, I'm talking to the choir, and I know that. But I hope you have a lot of people that are doing Get Out the Vote. And I hope that you will either put one of these stickers on their lip, and it says, "Vote Blue," up and down. Joyce, it's a present from the Grafton County chair. I have taken over Martha's place. She really likes to go on trips. And so I am now also chair of the Grafton County Dems. This is incredibly important. These are stickers that remind people to vote up and down the ticket. And if it doesn't, if you're out canvassing, it might remind you to mention it. If you want to put it on the sticker, remind them. People do not. You would be absolutely, you're all activists. You all care. You all vote up and down the ticket. Not everybody does. It's a real problem. And it's an issue. So I look forward to working with most of you candidates. Welcome. Steve, you and I will talk. I happen to be on the Finance Committee. It's a little tough on the Finance Committee, but we're not talking now tonight because I'm going to go home and listen to the debate. So we will.
Thank you, Sue. Incredibly valuable. I was worried tonight with 10 speakers that we might not have time to go through the whole group. We have 2 people who spoke to our September meeting, and since we do have a little bit of extra time, I'd like to invite up Bill Bolton first, and then Charlie Chandler. So Bill, running for county commissioner.
Jeez, I didn't expect this tonight. So anyway, I think I might as well just rest on Sue's laurels and vote up and down the ticket. So anyway, I'm Bill Bolton. I'm a Plymouth resident, long-term, raised 4 kids. I'm a 2-term Plymouth Select Board member, and I'm also a 30-year retired state employee. And as a state employee, I had 10 years as state registrar. And one of the functions of that was to develop software and roll out technology to 234 local city and town clerks. And the software that we developed was actually required broadband connectivity. So with, actually it was kind of funny because I went to Grafton to actually test the latency of satellite with our software by going to John Babiar's house. And I don't know if you know John Babiar's, ex-front, ran for governor and a little bit of a free stater himself. But it was a successful test, and we ended up rolling it out to all cities and towns. And because of that, I have like a strength in technology. I also, in addition to like being a select board, I'm also on, the PERLAC, which is the Pemigewasset River Local Advisory Committee. And as well as I'm a cemetery trustee and voting member of the planning board. And I really like doing civic duty. I also like volunteerism. I'm on the staff of Educational Theater Collaborative, which is a local community thing that brings in, educators and, community people to make fools of themselves on stage. But anyways, in January, you'll all see that. Also, I helped out Martha with Keep the Heat On. Great program with Plymouth Area Community Closet. So I think because I'm both very mindful of civic duty as well as this community service, I think that will go hand in hand with working for the county. And I'm not saying that I'm going to replace either Martha and or Mike. I think those are far too big shoes to fill. But I think because I am kind of a calm, cool voice, also I am not a tea partier, which my opponent is. I think that will work very well with the commission. So thank you very much.
Bill has so many hats, I don't know how he can do it, but thank you, Bill.
I'm also the cameraman.
And he's also, he's our tech guy, and he's also our vice chair, so thank you. I forgot somebody, Catherine Mulholland. Thank you so much for coming, Catherine, and you have a difficult house district too, don't you?
Well, yeah, not as bad as Josh and
Okay.
Judy. Because I actually have Enfield as well. And you go over to that side, it's bliss over there. Because everybody is nice and everybody is democratic. Well, not everybody, but the vast majority. I played hooky tonight. I should have been at the Draft and Budget Committee meeting, which I've served on the Budget Committee for years. So I have a very good sense of how terrible this trickle-down sediment is, and all the money that we have to raise gets put on the back of the property owners. And it's a situation that should not be, and that is one of my pet peeves, to relieve the property tax burden on the people of this state. By analogy, that obviously intends that we have to do something about funding education differently, which means that we need another source of revenue for the state. And I'll tell you a funny story. I was first elected to the House in 2005-06. And because I have a background in finance, I was on Ways and Means. They wouldn't put me on finance because I was a freshman, and they never wanted to put me on finance since, and probably it's just as well. But on Ways and Means, I was so naive, and in fact people accuse me of being naive anyway, because I'm not very good at looking at life in a realistic way, but maybe through rose-colored glasses. But I said, but we don't have enough money. It's so easy to get more money. We just raise this tax a little bit here, and this tax a little bit here, and this tax a little bit here, and we'll get enough revenue. And people looked at me and said, are you crazy? So the next year I decided, well, we might have to think outside the box, and we will think of some ways of getting some revenue. So I introduced 4 bills at the same time. I spent a morning in this hot seat on the committee, and the first one was to tax soft drinks. The second one was to tax candy. The second one was to tax bottled water, because I was worried about the aquifers. And the last one was to tax beer on an ad valorem basis rather than by the gallon, which I may say Steve Valancourt, many people don't know, was advocating freely and often.
Oh, yeah.
Well, all the people who had the little stores in the little convenience stores were rushed into our committee room with boxes of candy to bribe us. I stood on the floor eventually of this, and I was accused, I forget by who at that point, of being what I want the nanny state, and to tell people what they should eat, and I was going to be taxing fat next, and I said, well, that might not be a bad idea. None of this went through, and all this wonderful revenue that might have come trickling down to relieve education or whatever didn't transpire. And the next term, I was on Ways and Means for 2 terms, the next term I went on something called local and regulated revenues because municipal and county and Ways and Means was so overburdened with bills that we went, and that was a short-lived experience. The next year I was out because it was a Republican year and they said, oh, how the Democrats didn't turn out to vote. And for the term after that I was on commerce, which I absolutely hated and will never go back. And then I was out again. So here am I running again, and the reason I'm running again, I really did try and find somebody else to run instead because I thought maybe I'd done my duty. But I wasn't going to let my opponent, Steve Darrow, run unopposed. I have a long history with Steve Darrow, who beat me as selectman way back in 2002 or something. And so Steve, you've got to face me. And I also want to say to you that when canvassing last Saturday in Ashland, where my dog locked me out of the car and I had to wait for the police to come. I went around various people saying, can I use your phone? And met quite a number of people who'd already voted. And I said, did you vote the entire ticket? Yes, we voted the entire ticket. So thank you. So anyway, I will appreciate the very few votes in this room, which is Josh and Judy, and I don't think probably anybody else.
Yourself.
Oh, and me. I can't vote for myself. And thank you all.
Thank you. I think you have about 12 dogs, don't you?
14.
14.
There'll be 13 on Friday.
They probably walk around the house too. And finally, Charlie Chandler, running for
Thank you, Joyce. That's me. Good logo. I am Charlie Chandler. I'm running for New Hampshire Senate in District 2. That's 27 towns in 3 counties. And somebody asked Paul about the mileage on his car. Well, I'll tell you, since June 1st, when I filed, I've put 18,100 and something miles on my poor little car that needs an oil change and 2 tires. But I am running for the New Hampshire Senate in District 2, and I'm going to tell you, first off, as I sat here, it's kind of nice to speak last, because as I look around, I am incredibly encouraged. I have a very positive outlook for the state of New Hampshire. I think that we are on the cusp of doing some very good and great things for the citizens of this state, and a lot of the reason sits right here in this room. Young people, some older people, some very old people, with some terrific ideas who are willing to work across the aisle. I have approximately 45 years of experience in state and local government in some elected or appointed capacity. I've served in the legislature. I've served on the Ballot Law Commission. I am a selectman now. I'm a member of the Cannon Mountain Advisory Commission. I've served as moderators of towns and fire districts and school districts. It's just what I've done. And currently, I'm the chairman of the board of Franklin Savings Bank. That's why I have a sport coat today. I came from a bank meeting today. I serve on the board of directors of Penny Baker Land Trust. I do serve on the Cannon Mountain Advisory Commission, and I am absolutely committed to this state. I'm running to be the senator in District 2, but really I'm running to be your senator in District 2. I'm running because if you are a member of the LGBT community in this district, I'm going to stand in the Senate for you and on behalf of you. I am going to tell you that my opponent certainly will not. I'm going to tell you that I stand with you and for you for making permanent the Medicaid expansion. If you have a neighbor who cannot afford medication, you have a sister, a daughter, a friend who is benefiting from that, I want to make that permanent. That's a key in the opioid crisis fight. but it's a key in the fight for humanity. I'm gonna fight for that because that is the right and the moral thing to do. I'm also gonna stand for those people who can't stand for themselves. I'm going to stand for creating a living wage in this state. We do not have even a minimum wage, and we need a living wage. It is absolutely absurd when a young woman comes into my select board meeting with 2 young children and can't get a job because she can't afford childcare, she really doesn't have enough money for food, and she needs money because she's behind in a rent with a landlord. It is preposterous in the state that is as successful as we are that exists. I will fight for that living wage. I will fight with you. I will stand for you. I am an ardent backer of Planned Parenthood. If you or your sister or your son or your neighbor's sister, son, daughter, brother are having medical processes, having cancer screenings, getting information concerning pregnancy termination, I'm going to vote for, and I will stand with you and with them. I will stand with them and with you for funding Planned Parenthood. You need to understand that my opponent in Senate District 2 is absolutely on the contrary side of every one of these issues. There is no Senate district of the 24 in the state of New Hampshire that has a clearer definition of who would do what for the citizens of New Hampshire. I come to this race with a very, very positive attitude. The absolute core of my being is social responsibility and civil rights. And what that means to me is we fight to make people's lives better. And you start, in my estimation, by fighting for public education. You fight for good public education in your local schools. You fight for good and continuing development of our community colleges, and you fight for the state university system. A week ago, there was a Republican attack ad against me. And I flipped it, it's kind of funny actually, but I flipped it over and saw it, and it said, he wants to do things for the University of New Hampshire. And that's somehow a problem? But I will tell you, this is a very difficult race. I need your vote. I'm going to be working, I want to be working, I want to be standing and fighting for you. I am incredibly, incredibly encouraged by the people I've listened to tonight. We don't all speak perfectly, we don't all think alike, but you know what we do? We do what I did in the legislature in the 90s. We listen to each other. We respect each other's point of view. And if you respect the point of view of a person and you genuinely listen, they're going to respect you, they're going to listen to you, and you can reach compromise, you can get things done. This is an incredibly important election. We have to elect Hillary. We have to get a big turnout. There is no possibility that Donald Trump can ever ascend to anything other than an escalator. I need your support. Everybody in this room needs and deserves your support. I am going to tell you that today I received also the endorsement from the Human Rights Campaign. I am so proud of that. The very first candidate for the New Hampshire State Senate ever to receive that endorsement. Last week I received the endorsement of Planned Parenthood. I have received the endorsement of the New Hampshire Education Association. I have received the endorsement of the AFL-CIO, SEA, SEIU. That's because I'm going to go there and I'm going to stand with you, I'm going to work with you, but what I want is I want people to know that if I'm elected, I want a dialogue. I want you to contact me And if there's an issue with counties, I'm gonna contact my friends who have knowledge there. There must be a dialogue, we must get along. This is the most critical election time that I have seen in my lifetime. And as I said one time at PAD downtown, when I was born, Harry Truman was president. So I've seen a few elections, and there has never, ever been one as important as this. Knock on the doors, get out the votes, work for your candidates, work for yourself. But remember, you're working for the citizens of the state of New Hampshire, and most importantly, you're Democrats. You're working for the people who aren't able to do these things that you're able to do. So do it, work hard. We've got, Sam, how many days we got left?
20.
20 days. Sam's my campaign manager. So I'm going to appreciate your support. I appreciate your work, even if you're not in my district. Work hard. This is very, very important time. And I'm delighted to be part of this party with these marvelous people here. I have such a positive view of what this state is and what we can be, but we need to get elected. Thank you.
I was just going to mention the coordinated campaign because I think this year we have the best relationship that we've ever had between the local organization, Plymouth Area Democrats, who support our local candidates, and our coordinated campaign, which support the state and federal candidates. And I'd like to ask Amy, would you like to come up and talk?
And Amy, I would like to tell you that is happening all over the state.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful coordinated campaign. And Amy, thank you very much because we know it's not easy.
Well, it's getting easier. We have dollars to pay for that.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for coming, and I won't take too much of your time. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the New Hampshire Democrats organizer for Plymouth and the surrounding towns right out to Grafton. I've met most of you in this room, but for those of you I haven't met, thank you for coming. Your local candidates are the people who are going to make the most difference to your lives. But if you want to see people voting down ballot, if you want to see Democrats turning out to vote, which sometimes they don't on an off year, if you want to see Dick Osborne elected, and Suzanne Smith elected, and Charlie elected, and Mike elected, and all of these awesome people in this room, we need to drive Democratic turnout, and we need to do it such that the small margins by which we always win or lose New Hampshire elections, we can move that small margin very successfully with a ground game, which is what we're running here. Can I have a show of hands of everyone who's done something to contribute to the coordinated campaign? That is amazing. Guys, thank you so much. We are working for Democrats up and down the ballot. We're not just working for Hillary. We're not just working for Maggie. We are literally going out there with the message that you should vote for the Democrats, and we will go out there with the message that you should vote all the way down the ballot. We still need more help. We need help with phone calls to turn out the vote. We need help with knocking on doors to turn out the vote. Having conversations with your neighbours becomes better from you guys than it does from me, because my accent gives me away every time. And I am constantly impressed by the liberal bastion that is this Plymouth area group. But you've got to go out there into the less liberal bastions of, Bristol and Grafton and Alexandria and Groton and all those places.
April.
April, yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, that's
in my
a
area.
tough one, right now. We know that.
April's bad. Yeah. So guys, if you don't have my number, please come and see me, or write your name on a form over there, write your phone number down. We don't need much of your time, but there's only 3 weeks left. So it's now or never. It takes 2 hours to make a couple of phone calls. It takes 3 hours to go and knock on some doors, which is the most effective thing you can do, because face-to-face conversations have so much more meaning for people. But we're getting to the point where we're only going to be talking to supporters. You are not going to be spending your time having arguments with Trump voters because that is pointless. We have enough undecided people that we're going to talk to this week, but following that, it is going to be just rounding up the Democrats and saying it is your responsibility to vote, and don't forget to vote down ballot. So it's the easiest but most important part of this campaign, because without turnout, none of these polls matter. It doesn't matter how far Hillary is ahead, it doesn't matter how far, and Maggie's not ahead at all, frankly. Maggie's in a fight to the death with Kelly. I mean, there's no space in between for that race. And if you want to see democratic agendas pursued, if you want to see progress in this country, you're going to need not just a Democratic president, you need a Democratic Senate, you need a Democratic Congress, and you need Democrats in the State House, and in the State Senate, and in the state governor's role. So, you know, if you want to see what you care about happen, we need to go out there for Democrats. We've made it easy by being so coordinated, and Joyce and the Plymouth Area Democrats team have been so amazing in folding in and, you know, working so cooperatively with New Hampshire Democrats headquarters. And so there is a place for all of you guys, and we need everybody that we can get, because it's all about how many people we talk to in those last 10 days of the election. So I hope to see you joining us. Fill in a form, reach out to me. Most of you have my number. But thank you so much for being here, and thanks for listening.
So everybody take a break. The debate's going to start.
And don't forget, we need a Democratic governor, please.
How are you?
Oh, hi.